This is Dr. Aruna Chaturvedi from the Department of Information Technology. The subject which I am taking is Artificial Intelligence. In this, we'll talk about more about predicate logic. In this, today we will talk about inferences, rule of inferences in FOPL, in first order predicate logic. So what you need to understand that inference in FOL is used to deduce the facts, to reduce the conclusion of a given sentences from the given problems. So before understanding the FOL inference tool, we should understand what all basic terminologies we use. Like time to time we need to use substitution. What is substitution? Substitution is a fundamental operation which is performed on terms and formulas. It occurs in almost all inference system in FOPL. The substitution is complex in the presence of quantifiers. Like if we write a oblique x, a oblique x, so it refers to substitute a constant a in place of x. Let's say I am talking about x variable, but I want to say that this x is John. So I can replicate or substitute the value of x with a constant. This is substitution. So might be somewhere we need to substitute the value in place of variable in the form of constant. Another is your equality. FOPL does not only use predicate and terms for making atomic sentences. There is another way, which is equality. Sometimes might be we need to equate two different objects. How? For this we can use equality symbol. Like here, John is a brother and the brother of John is equals to Smith. Fine. So the object referred by brother John, who is the brother of John, is similar to the object referred by Smith. So this is a symbol of equality. The equality symbol can also be used with negation to present that two terms are not the same object, right? Not x is equals to y. There exists x, there exists y, but both are not equals. So either we need to use not equal or we need to use equal symbol. So equality can be used in two ways in representing the given statements in the form of FOPL. Another thing which we need to remember is while finding or inferring the conclusion or deducing the facts, we need to use universal generalization, universal instantiation, existential instantiation and existential introduction. How we will see this? See, universal generalization, it means I am given a constant, I am talking about a constant, but I can just convert that into a general form. Let's say I am talking about constant C who is a part of predicate P. So in spite of constant C who is a predicate P, I can also write that there exists some X such that X is P. X is P. So this is what we have generalized. Earlier we are talking about that C is P. C was a constant. But later on I can say that in a general way also that there might in the universe exist more kind of X which are a part of predicate P. For example, given over here, a byte contains 8 bit. Okay, fine. A byte, one byte contains 8 bit. But whatsoever number of bytes will be over there, they all will be containing 8 bit only. So we can represent it in a universal generalization form that for all x will be p in case all bytes, whatever bytes are over there, those all will be a part of x and will be having 8 bit only. So a byte contains 8 bit can be converted into all bytes contain 8 bit. If it is a byte, then definitely it will contain 8 bits. So we have generalized the statement. I am not talking about specific, I am talking about all general statement that if it is a byte, then definitely it is a 8 bit, either it is a 1 byte or 2 byte or 3 byte. This is universal generalization. Well, instantiation is opposite of that. I'm talking about general statement and I can just replace or substitute that generalized statement into a constant. So it is called as universal elimination as well. It can be applied multiple times to add new sentences. The new knowledge base is logical equivalent to the previous only. As per universal instantiation, we can infer any sub-sentence obtained by substituting to a ground term for the variable. We were talking about X, but now I'm not talking about X. I'm talking about specific person, that is John. So in spite of generalization, I have done an instantiation. So in this case, let's say I was earlier saying every person like ice cream. So I can instantiate also. I can say John like ice cream. So in the here, earlier we were saying for all X, if X is a person, then definitely X likes ice cream. Or I can say John likes ice cream. So I can say P and then John. So this is instantiation. And that to a universal word. Now come to another example of universal instantiation. Let's say I'm saying all kings who are greedy are evil. So I'll say for all X, if X is a king and X is greedy as well, then definitely X is evil. So I'm talking about for all X who are king and greedy. So I can instantiate also. How I'll be instantiating? I'll say uh, that John is a king and John is greedy, that's why John is evil. Or Richard is a king and Richard is greedy, that's why Richard is evil. John is a father, John is a father who is a king and John is a father who is greedy, then definitely John is a father who is evil. So here we have instantiated. Now we see existential elimination or instantiation. Here again there is a existential talk about a variable, about some general variable. And in spite of talking about some general variables, I can talk about specific also. When we are using, converting or substituting the generalized variable into a particular constant, that is known as existential instantiation. It can be applied only once to replace the existential sentence. The knowledge base is not logically equivalent to old one, but it is satisfiable. Rule states that one infer PC from the formula given in the form there exists xpx for a new constant symbol, that is C. Like here you say, see, if there was a predicate in which existential predicate where we were saying there exists x in such that x is p. Now in spite of x, I have substituted this x with a constant c, so that's why it is known as existential instantiation. Example, there exists x such that x is having crown and this was having uh, x on the head, crown was having on the head of John. So this entire thing can also be replaced by a constant, and when this x is replaced by some constant, then we say that we are Skolemanizing. We have Skolemanized the constant, and those constant can be any constant. Those constant can be any constant. Now see, here in case of introduction, what we do, we can convert the constant or instantiated variable into a general form. So how we do that? In this, an existential generalization take place, that is a valid inference with respect to the subject domain which is given over there. The rule states that if there is some element C in the universe which is having some property P, then definitely there exist so many more X which will be having that kind of property. So in spite of talking about C, I can say there exists some X such that X is having this particular property or predicate. So in spite of writing a constant, we have written a generalized statement. So that is existential introduction or generalization. For example, here I was saying Priyanka got good marks in English. But it's not like this that only Priyanka got good marks in English. There might be more students who got good marks in English. So in spite of writing that good marks has got by Priyanka, I have generalized there exists some student X such that X scored good marks and X scored good marks. So I can say this. So this is what? This is generalization with respect to existential statement. Now see, there is a modus ponens rule as we studied earlier. What was that? That if P is true and P implies Q is true, then definitely Q is also true. With respect to that only, here also we say that if there are certain set of predicates, P1 dash, P2 dash, P, the certain predicates, these are true, and another predicate which is equivalent to Q, this is also true, then we can substitute in spite of Q some theta. For example, P1 is a predicate, P1 dash is a predicate where we say John is a king. Or is this P1 is a predicate where it says X is king. P2 dash is a predicate which says Y is greedy. P2 is a predicate wherein it says X is greedy. Then we can say that X can be substituted by John and Y can also be substituted by John, and then this evil, because the king who is greedy as well as the person who is king as well as greedy is evil, then we can say X is evil. So here we have substituted theta with Q. We have this is a theta wherein we are replacing X with John as well as Y with John. So this substitution is represented by theta, and we substitute theta with Q. So this is what is known as modus ponens rule, that if one thing is true, if second thing is true, then definitely third is also true. Now another is unification. Unification is the process of making two different logical atomic statements identical by substitution. As we have just seen, we have substituted X upon John as well as Y upon John, both with theta, and we say that if John is a king as well as John is greedy, then he will be evil. So we replace this theta with evil X. So similarly now we see unification. In unification, two different logical atomic expression can be made identical by substituting, finding that what can be substituted. It takes two literals as input, makes them identical using substitution. Let's say I am having two atomic sentences, one is psi1, another is psi2. It can be written as P and Q also. And phi be a unifier. This is a unifier who is going to unify the atomic sentences. So by adding this with psi1 and psi2, we can also express that if adding this unifier in both the given predicates or atomic sentences, then it can also be represented that we are going to unify psi1 and psi2. You will more understand this with the help of here this phi is having the role of, this sigma is having the role of unification. How we do? See over here. Psi1 is one of the atomic sentence which is where it says X is king. Psi2 is another predicate which says John is king. Now if X is king and John is king, we can say that we can substitute John with X, because what we are saying in this, we are saying X is the king, here we are saying John is the king. So this X can be John also. So this is all is how what we have done, we have unified it. That both the sentences psi1 and psi2 are basically equal on the basis of what? On the basis of the substitution, that is theta is equals to John substituted in place of X. So this is a unifier over here, and these both sentences are unified using this unifier. So this process is known as unification. So in this, unification is a key component of FOPL. It returns fail if the expression do not match with each other, and this substitution variable is also known as NGU, that is most general unifier. Somewhere you will see that in shortcut it will be going to mention most general unifier. Now unification, let's say we are having two expressions, px comma y and pa comma fz. Now see, we are talking about same predicate p and the number of arguments are also same, x comma y, a comma z. So these are the two predicates. What we can do, we can easily substitute this a in place of x and fz in place of pi. Once we do that, our theta will be a upon x comma fz upon y, and we have done the unification. So this is a unifier. So this is what is another example of unification. Now to perform unification, we need to remember certain concepts. One is that predicate symbol must be same first of all, as we have seen in previous example that predicate were same, P, P or king, king. Predicate should be same, as well as the number of arguments which are lying over there, those should also be same in number. Both should have same number of arguments. Unification will be going to get failed if predicates are not same or the number of arguments are not same. So this is the algorithm. We will understand this better. Initialize the substitution set to be empty first of all. Now you have to recursively unify atomic sentence. You need to check for identical expression first of all. If one expression is a variable vi and the other is a term, then what we can do, we can have a term ti which does not contain variable vi. Then we will be going to substitute ti with vi, where ti is a term and vi is a variable. And later on we can add ti oblique vi to the substitution set of list, which becomes a unifier. If both the expressions are function, then function name must be similar. Otherwise we will not be able to unify the given problem statement. And the number of arguments must also be same in the given expressions. How is easily able to understand with the help of some examples. Like here is one of the example. We are given a most general unifier P, two arguments fa comma gy, P, two arguments x comma x. Now see, first condition is applicable because the predicate name is same. Second is both the arguments are same. Now look at third. First, so let's say we'll talk about one argument. First argument of both the given expression, that is fa over here and x over here. So we can say that we can substitute fa by x. Fine. So this is one. Now come to second. Second is, if we see over here, this is gy and this is x. So can x be gy as well as fa? No. Once I am saying x is substituted by fa. Another time I can't say that x is substituted by gy. So it is contradicting itself. So that's why this unification will be going to get failed. Whereas other rest of the conditions are easily applicable over here. What is that? That the predicate name is same and the number of arguments are same. But same arguments in one particular predicate, the two arguments are similar. So this can't be, in this case, it can't be possible to unify the given problem set of statements. Now look here, this is another problem wherein we are saying we are having two predicate, one is P, one is P, right? One condition is applicable. Another, how many argument? 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. This is also right. Now one by one we will see. B with Z. So we substitute B by Z. So wherever Z was lying, we will be going to replace that with B. So in how many places Z was lying? B was lying. This. First of all, Here is B, here Z. The Z will again become B, this will also become B. And the statement which will come will be like this. Predicates are same and we have unified first argument. Now look at second is x and fy. Again we will substitute x by fy. Now what we do, wherever this x is lying, we will be going to replicate this with fy. Okay, fine. So we do that again. So look over here. This x was replicated by fy. This was already been done. This was already been done. This was already been done. This is fy. This is fy. Fine. Now again we are left with third one. Third one is what? This fgb and fy. We are saying कि this y can be replaced by GB because f and f are same. So we will not consider ff. We will see the inner argument GB and y. We can substitute y with GB. So now when we substitute, we see that we have unified the entire expression. And the resultant expression is PB FGB, FGB. Here P, B, FGB, FGB. We have unified it successfully, wherein we substituted Z with B, X with Fy and Y with GB. So in such situations, thus unification can be successful. Now we'll see one more example. In this, we are again given two predicates P and P, two arguments x's, here z is z. Now firstly we'll consider first one x and z. So we can substitute x with z. Okay, fine. So we have substituted z comma z f z. Now can it be possible z is equals to z? Okay, fine. Another time I am saying z is equals to function of z. No, it is not possible. So this is a given problem set where unification get failed. In spite of having same predicate and same number of arguments, but the arguments are itself same and they're similar to each other. So in that case, unification will be going to get failed. This is another example where we are saying 11 is a prime number and y is a prime number. Prime, same predicate, so y can be substituted by 11 and we can unify it successfully. This is another example of unification. Now here look carefully. Here we are given q predicate. Both are same. Number of arguments 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. And one more is over here, that is okay. This is 1, 2 and 3. Fine. Now we one by one will look after the arguments. First is AA. Both are same, no need to substitute. Now come forward. Another is GX comma A and GFB comma A. So here AA is same, GG is same. So X can be substituted by FB. So here we have substituted X by FB, and the new substituted problem statement will be QA comma GFB comma A comma FY. Here QA FB comma A comma FB. Now we are left with third one, that is FY, and here it is X. Right? So here if we look at carefully, look this over here carefully, we have already solved. These two are same. Here Gx comma A, FB get replaced. Fine, over here. Now when FB get replaced by X, this X also becomes FB. So the third statement which we have to unify is, third argument which we need to unify is Fy and FB. So we can cancel F with F and we can substitute Y with B. So here we have substituted and we have unified the entire given problem statement successfully. Now this is another where we are saying knows is a predicate. Here I am saying X knows Richard. Here I am saying John knows Richard. Nose will be going to get cancelled with nose, Richard, Richard. X will be going to substitute it with John, and we have successfully unified the given statement. So this is what is unification. When we are given so many number of set of problem statements, to convert them into FOPL form using all symbols, and later on we have to deduce something. Various time we need to use uniform unification, uniform instantiation, or uniform generalization, or existential generalization, or existential introduction. So it depends ki how you are solving, what is the problem which is given to you and how you are solving that. This is all about the inference rules of used in predicate clause. In next class, we will solve one problem wherein we will see what are the steps of resolution to deduce the outcome of a given set of problems. Thank you.